Look, Yahtzee, it's Silent Hill F. Ooh, a new game set in Silent Hill? No, but it is called Silent Hill. Alright, perhaps you'll be interested in buying my new book. It's a bloody historical account of the Rwandan genocide, and it's called The Little Elephant Who Went Shopping, because names don't mean anything in your little world. Oh, shut up, past Yahtzee. We agreed to stop moaning about blatant IP milking as long as half-decent games get some exposure out of it. And you know what? Story and setting aside, the gameplay of Silent Hill F does Silent Hill feel more authentically like a classic Silent Hill game than anything since Silent Hill 4, I'd say. I mean, yes, we have the inevitable RE4 style glued to the gluteus maximus third-person camera, which I guess is just what horror games are now, but otherwise it's got the foggy town, the puzzles, the atmosphere, the UFO ending, a faint whiff of gynophobia, the bringing down of big bits of pipe upon fucked up monsters with fairly blatant symbolism and their bums hanging out, and the wandering around filling out a map while roughly 80 to 90% of the doors you try to open aren't actually real and were presumably put in to fool the occupational health and safety people. In Silent Hill, forget about every previous game, we play as Hinako, a schoolgirl for what is Japanese culture if not one harrowing thing happening to a schoolgirl after another in a small Japanese town in the 60s. She has a Silent Hill fight with her parents and runs off to hang out with her Silent Hill friends. Boy best friend, who's obviously in love with her, girl best friend, who's obviously in love with boy best friend, and of course the wacky one, who's in love with the concept of third wheeling. But just as the game has reached maximum dippy high school romance manga vibes, wacky friend suddenly dies horribly, exploding into red slime. And Hinako has to run away from a murderous fog while getting chased by bloody mannequin monsters with knives. And I'm like, fucking hell, talk about turning on a yen. And so Hinako's overall goal is presented, get the fuck out of Dodge. But of course it's not as simple as that. A while later I'm in a dungeon themed around a wedding chapel as I smack the tits off a monster resembling a giant tortured pregnant woman, and I think, hang on, call me paranoid, but I'm starting to pick up on a faint subtext going on here. But more on that later. What surprised me about Silent Hill F is its Silent Hill emphasis on combat. The mechanics are quite complex. Press for light attack, hold for strong attack, keep an eye on your stamina bar, you can counter, and if you hold down the focus button, the counters get easier, but be careful because that depletes your sanity bar, or I could just run past everything, game. That's an option, because there's no benefit to killing all the monsters, especially with the ever-welcome inclusion of weapon degradation, sarcasm quotes, and when you press the dodge button, Hinako fucking flies across the room like she's got afterburners for tits, so escaping stuff is easy. Until it isn't. There are boss fights, of course, some towards the end that feel a bit out of place and like they'd be more at home in Elden Ring, and for some reason, every time you run into that aforementioned tortured pregnant woman monster, it locks off the exits and you're forced to fight it, and it's the only regular monster that does that. Not sure why, maybe the game wants to really make sure you're picking up on the subtle metaphor at work there. Certainly not because it's fun or interesting to fight, it's about as engaging as hammering nails into a sofa cushion. Puzzles are a mixed bag, some are quite good, like the one where you figure out locker codes, and some of them are Silent Hill phenomenally bad. I'm thinking of the one where you need to hang a calendar on an unmarked section of one of several Silent Hill featureless walls, and to figure out which, you just have to smear yourself across the environment, mashing the use button like you're looking for secret doors in Wolfenstein 3D. And then there's the Scarecrow puzzles. It's possible they were poorly translated. I ended up having to brute force try every Scarecrow till I found the right ones. The clues offered might as well have been a selection of farm animal noises and flatulence. And while we're nitpicking, the game has the traditional Silent Hill problem of loading you down with too many items. Who the fuck needs items that restore stamina, incidentally? That shit comes back by itself if you just breathe in and out for a bit. But fortunately, the stringent limited inventory kinda cancels that problem out. Fighting annoyances with annoyances, how efficient, like when my dog eats his own sick. But enough sick picking. Let me get down to the Silent Hill focal point of the matter. The only question that matters when it comes to horror games is, was it scary? And yes, it was scary and creepy and disturbing, with several particularly harrowing moments that stuck with me and I'll no doubt be thinking about the next time I eat barbecue ribs. Hooray, we figured it out. That said, I was left disappointed by the overall story, which is officially as far as I can go without spoilers. To quickly summarise for those planning to play the game, there's some iffy gameplay choices, some great memorable moments, but it kinda comes apart on the wider analysis. Right, I will now signal entry to the spoilery bit of the video by making a noise like a walrus riding a roller coaster. Okay. It becomes clear as you progress through the plot that you're actually alternating between two versions of Hinako. One's stuck in her foggy hometown hanging out with her two mates, who never seem to get the memo that they're not in a dippy high school romance manga, going through reminders of her childhood and getting the shit kicked out of her. The other Hinako is in a weird metaphorical realm going through the process of marrying a weird fox dude while getting the shit kicked out of her. And then it turns out one of the Hinakos is the entity causing all the problems for the other Hinako, and after an out-of-place Elden Ring-y final boss fight, we get an incredibly shit ending, implying that the entire game was a metaphor for the internal struggle of a girl coming to terms with reaching adulthood. And I felt robbed because entire game was a metaphor is just it was all a dream with a PhD. Personally, I think it's a lot creepier when you don't know what's real and what isn't, so when the game goes none of it was real, should have laid off the over-counter stay-awake pills, all sense of mystery evaporates and I lose my investment. But wait yards, if you play through again you'll get a different ending, some different dialogue, and another entirely distinct but equally out of place Elden Ring-y final boss fight. And you might even get the ending that has some actual fucking closure if you play through the entire game 3 more times. Wow. Wow, Silent Hill, fuck off. I guess Nier Automata does something similar, but that had fun combat and a nice juicy bum to admire. I'm not down for Silent Hill 4 playthroughs worth of awkwardly swinging pipes like a steam organ removal specialist on a spiral staircase. And as for admiring juicy bums, I don't want to get put on the Silent Hill sex offenders register.